Hello everyone, and welcome to the next video in the PreMeducation series. Today we are doing things a little bit differently. This is not your traditional tips and tricks video, and this is also not the same Olivia that you've been talking to for the past couple of months. Why? You may be wondering. Not a big change, but big to me at least. I, as of last week, finished my undergrad career. It has been a long time coming. 4 years is no joke, and I'm just walking into another 4-year stretch, which is going to be 10 times as hard, but it's been a huge accomplishment of mine to have finished college, got my bachelor's degree, and, you know, neuroscience was no walk in the park. I picked it myself, but I definitely could have picked something that didn't challenge me quite as much, but I'm glad that I did. It taught me a lot. I had a lot of great times. I made a lot of great friends, and on top of it all, shortly before finishing all of my final exams, I committed 100% to a medical school. I am so excited to announce that I will be going to Harvard Medical School starting this summer. August 2nd is when we start. I vividly remember I was sobbing all day. Oh my gosh, all day. It took me a full day to process it and believe that it was real. I was literally checking the acceptance email every hour. I could not believe it. I still barely believe it, but we're still working through it, and I'm in the process of figuring out financial aid and things like that. But yes, I will be moving to Boston at the end of July and starting my next 4 years on becoming a doctor, and I'll be doing it in Boston. Very exciting. This video today is not necessarily what I usually do. I really just wanted to take a minute to sit back, relax, and reflect on the past 4 years. I've given a lot of advice, tips, tricks, and encouragement, I hope, to a lot of you, but I think oftentimes some of the best lessons that I've learned and the best conversations that I've had with upperclassmen or people who are further along in this path are just listening to them and hearing about their experiences and things that they liked, didn't like, wish they would have done differently, or even the highs, just some of the best decisions they made throughout. And this won't be a long video. I won't be ranting about college for this whole time, but I wanted to take a second to just reflect and give honor to the last 4 years that I've been grinding and get excited about the next 4. So stick around. So where to begin, honestly? I have absolutely loved my college experience the past 4 years. And for those of you who don't know, I went to the University of Rochester for the past 4 years, where I majored in neuroscience and minored in American Sign Language. And the way the Rochester curriculum is set up, it allows you to major in one area, minor in one area, and then do a cluster in a third area. And a cluster is just 3 loosely related courses. That's one of the main reasons why I picked the U of R, is because of the flexible curriculum. Unlike most other colleges, they don't have any required classes. It worked out really nice, at least for neuroscience majors at the U of R. It closely aligns with all of the pre-med requirements, so I got to save a little bit of worry and stress along the way. However, if I could go back and do anything differently, I would have changed my major. I wouldn't have majored in neuroscience, and it's nothing against that particular field. I enjoyed it, I learned a lot, and there's a reason I picked it in the first place. But I discovered American Sign Language my first year of college, and wanted to double major, but also didn't realize at the time that I could major in anything and still apply to medical school. So I stuck it out with neuroscience and just minored in ASL. If I could go back, I would most certainly change my major. I would major in American Sign Language, hands down. And I'd probably minor in biology with a neuroscience focus or something like that. I think I'm going to try to continue to take more classes if I can in Boston. I know that they have a lot of deaf health research going on there, and that's something I plan on looking into before I move. But that aside, Rochester has been very good to me. My process of selecting Rochester was a fun one. I didn't actually think I was going to go there because I live not far from the campus at all. I actually thought I needed to run away. I wanted to go to like NYU or someplace else for undergrad, but my mom insisted that I take a tour of the U of R campus. After the first tour, I knew I was in trouble and it was going to be a tough choice between there and NYU. And then after my second tour, I had already felt at home after having only been there once. The people were amazing. The students were fantastic. The campus is just big enough to feel like I am in my own little world, but it's also small enough to know that I can wave to at least every third person as I'm like walking down the quad or something like that. And so that was a big factor in choosing it. When I started, I lived in the dorms for all 4 years, actually, until this most recent year where I lived off campus because of the pandemic. But the first year I lived in Tiernan Hall. It's a first year dorm. All the first years lived together. And then after that, I sort of accelerated through the natural phase of moving on to the suite style dorms. And then I lived off campus in the university owned apartments. And then this most recent 4th year, I've lived right here at home. But in any case, I think what I loved the most about college was the community. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that it was the U of R and things like that, but it also had a lot to do with the way that I approached it. I came from a really, really small high school in upstate New York, and there were only 60 kids in my graduating class. So even if I didn't like someone, which was rare, but even if I didn't like someone, I didn't really have a choice because there weren't a lot of us. And if you wanted to have friends and fit in and do all the cool things that everyone was doing, you didn't have a lot to pick from. Not to say that my classmates weren't incredible in high school, but that was just the situation. Not to mention I was the only one of very few people of color in my graduating class, let alone the high school. So it wasn't always easy. That was a blessing and a curse in and of itself. But coming to college, I really made an effort to let my gut guide me. I had endless opportunities of different sorts of people from different places around the world to become friends with. And I ended up finding an amazing group of individuals that I'm still incredibly close with, and I don't plan on that changing anytime soon. In fact, I almost lived with one of these friends when I was thinking about going to a different medical school. Now that I'm moving to Boston, another one of these friends is going to be in Boston, so I'll be close to them. And I think that in and of itself is what got me through college. Just community, and how that community, despite almost none of them being bio majors or even pre-med students. I think I only had like one super, super close pre-med friend. The fact that they had nothing to do with what I was studying or had zero interest really in becoming a physician, they were still there and able to support me. And I think that was almost a benefit to them, that they didn't really have a close connection to what I was doing. It eliminated any opportunity for competition or just feeling weird. Even the 2 friends I'm referring to, they even studied different things. So it was like the 3 of us and none of us studied the same thing. It was amazing. I think it worked really well. We were able to just be ourselves and not always talk about school when we were together, which was really awesome as well. In regards to my specific pre-med experience, I actually really had a lot of fun with it. I might be a little bit different than most people, but I was the student who, when I started college, I actually knew nothing about what it took to become a physician or to apply to medical school. I was quite honestly winging it from the jump. I knew that I had to do a lot of things, and I mostly looked to my classmates. I talked to a whole bunch of upperclassmen. I talked to a whole bunch of early medical students. I joined every program that was possible and picked up mentors every step of the way. And I'm a firm believer that the mentors that I picked up are the reason I got to where I am. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started college. I just knew, hey, I want to be a doctor. Don't know where to begin. I didn't know what the MCAT entailed. I didn't know what the application process was like. I didn't know how long the application process would take. I didn't know what extracurriculars I should be doing. And I think that came partly because I went to such a small high school and I didn't have tons of exposure to medicine or the process behind it. But the people that I picked up along the way and the mentors that came into my life made all the difference. Part of being sort of behind the curve a little bit when I started college meant that I was really stressed my first 2 years, I'd say. By the end of my sophomore year, I think I sort of had it pieced together about what I was going to do and at least what the process meant and what it entailed. But those first 2 years, on top of being tough academically, I was really hard on myself, like unbelievably hard on myself. In hindsight, I wish I could go back and tell my freshman year me to just take it easy. Like it will be fine. now I can say that, I mean, those first 2 years of me being stressed ended up serving me. I got to where I am, but I think that I would have been just as successful had I taken it a little easier on myself. And not to say that I wish I had done less or done different things, just mentally, personally, give myself a break. And I realize now it's not always about the specific numbers on your application or the specific activities you did. You don't have to get a publication. You don't have to do all types of research under the sun. You don't have to be in every single extracurricular and be on every single e-board. If I could go back, I would remind myself that, hey, just let your passions lead you, let your curiosity lead you, and when you find something you like, just invest. It doesn't have to be 10 things. It can be 3 things that you really freaking enjoy and commit to them wholeheartedly, and opportunities will present themselves just because you invested your time and effort and passion and love into a certain project. That's what I wish I had done. Instead, I sort of jumped around a lot from different clubs and jobs until I really found one that stuck with me. And that job, luckily I found it my freshman year. I ended up working the same job for all 4 years. And that one job that I just invested in, I was like walking to this place like every day between classes, on the weekends. I was clocking in nonstop just because I liked it, not because I felt like I had to. And that one job that I had for 4 years, like, is written all over my med school application. Like, it got its own section in my extracurriculars. It was one of my most meaningful activities. It's all over my personal statement, and you might not even notice it if you looked at my application at first glance, but many different things that are written on there all came from that one job. And I have 2 specific activities that did the same thing for me. It's just one thing that I stuck with for years, and multiple opportunities presented themselves from that. So yeah, I would remind myself of that if I could go back. But the pre-med experience as a whole, I enjoyed. The MCAT looked fun before I started to study for it. I don't know why. I think I need to address this personally, but looking at a challenge doesn't always stress me out. At first glance, it actually like kind of gets me excited, like, ooh, another one. And then that's how I looked at the MCAT at first. Then I started to study for it, and then I continued to study for it, and then I was running out of time, and then the pandemic happened, and my MCAT date got postponed, and I didn't want to take a gap year, and it was very stressful. I'm pretty sure that will have been the lowest point of my life, and I'll stick with that up until I study for step 1, just because I've heard medical students say that that's like insanity. But it's pass fail. It will be, at least by the time I get there. So nonetheless, you get through it. The MCAT's really terrifying for a lot of people, and in hindsight, I would say that I should have paid more respect to that exam prior to studying for it. But in any case, you study hard, you take it once if possible, and I have not thought about it since. I got the score, I was satisfied, and I moved on. So yeah, that was that MCAT. I said I wasn't going to keep you here forever, and we are 13 minutes in, and it's been a little all over the place. So what oh, hold up. Got it. So what I'll do is I will cut it here to not keep you here forever. And I will ask that you guys drop any questions that you might have specific to my college experience in the comments below. I will dedicate my entire next video, maybe like 2 or 3 videos from now, but I will dedicate an entire video to answering whatever questions you guys might have about college, about applications, about what have you. Drop any questions you have in the comments, and I will address them. So it'll be a little bit more organized than this one. But I had a lot of fun. I just sort of spoke from my heart on this, and I didn't take any long notes or outline it too heavily. I just sort of spoke whatever came to my mind. I hope you guys benefited a little bit from it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.